What's it like being a female expat living in Asia? What are some of the things I panic by every time I step out of Asia before I head on home? And if I move to Asia with a partner, am I going to lose my partnership to a vindictive and predatory Asian woman, which seems to be the trope? If those questions or anything about being a female expat are interesting to you, congratulations, you're in the right place. My name is Wendy, and for more than 3 decades, I've lived and worked in Asia. And I still live and work in Asia, now in Thailand. And today I want to talk about something that's really important to take on board if you are considering moving to Asia or you're already living here. Maybe you've got some thoughts about that as well. And this is the idea of adaptation of mindset. Now, this is not necessarily about culture shock. There's lots of videos about culture shock. I've done one and we can talk about that another time. And it is kind of connected to culture shock, but it's not only about that. It's actually about more than that, because at some point in the last 3.5 decades or so, I realized that every time I moved into these 5 different countries, I didn't just move countries, I also shifted my mindset. And that's really important if you are going to have a successful or happy expatriate existence. One of the biggest frustrations that Westerners have is that they expect that things should be the way they work at home. And that is kind of crazy, right? Because what we're talking about here borders on colonialism. It borders on this idea that the way that we do things in the West are actually better than the way things are done in Asia. And I have to say, Asian cultures have been around for just as many thousands of years as ours have, and successfully as well. So do we not think that that's just a little bit high and mighty to turn around and say, well, it's better the way that we do things? It's different the way that we do things, for sure. So that's what I want to talk about today. Because I think if you are going to move to Asia, or if you're already living in Asia and you're finding yourself frustrated or you don't know how it's going to be, this is something that you want to put into your wheelhouse so that you know what's going on. Just while I'm talking to you, by the way, I'm being bitten by red ants. So I'm just going to move my foot for a second because that's an adaptation I've never gotten used to. Bloody red ants, they're awful. All right, let's have a talk about this. Okay, there is a reason, and this is just my opinion, there is a reason why I think that introverts do quite well in Asia, generally speaking. That's a massive generalization, but I think so. And part of the reason why often introverts are attracted to Asian communities is because they understand the power of being still and being quiet. Now, we come over, and when I say we, not so much introverts, Westerners, we come over into these communities and we say, this is the way things should work. This is the way timing, that's me, I'm not patient, right? This is the way timing is, this is how things are. And let me give you a perfect example of where I had to unlearn and relearn what that meant in a practical way in Thailand, for example. So quite a few years ago, I worked for 1 year in a large Catholic school. Random, I know. I can tell you a story about that. The kids used to learn, all the Hail Marys at the school assembly every morning and then go up and have Buddhism classes, which I thought was great. They had a little amulet and also a little cross underneath their uniforms. I thought that was fantastic. So they were having a sports day. And I can't remember, but let's say the sports day was on the Friday, and by the Thursday, I couldn't see evidence of anything moving. I didn't see things being set up. I knew that, I had to be on duty at this time, but I didn't see, there was no T-shirt or flag. There was just nothing going on. And I became alarmed because in my former life, I was a theatre director and I understand, what it takes to mount large events and, big events in Hong Kong, all that sort of thing. And I was really worried. I thought this is never going to go ahead. Sure enough, 6 o'clock in the morning, we all sort of got to the place that we needed to be, and there was a lot of activity. And by 9 o'clock, that sports day with its 3,500 students and equal number of parents rocked along like it had been planned for months. And I literally could not understand how that had happened. How did this event go ahead without hardly anything written down, with no lists, with no, marching orders? I mean, how did it all happen? And one of the first phrases that I ever learned in Thailand was Jai Yen Yen. Jai means heart, Yen means cool. And I was told again and again and again, Jai Yen Yen, Wendy, cool your heart. It means be patient, back down. And just the fact that it didn't work the way I expected it to doesn't mean that it's not going to work. And let's be honest, we all know in any culture, it doesn't matter, even in our own, right? When we get frustrated, it's because our expectations do not match the reality. The reality was they knew what was going on. They did this sports day every year. I was the interloper telling them how things should be done. That's not how they did it. So my expectation did not match reality, and I found myself getting frustrated. And this is really something that in Asia is really important to understand. Now, if I could take this moment to recommend a book that I read many, many years ago when I was living in Hong Kong, and it certainly helped me. It's actually a business book, and it's an old one now, but it's called Thick Face, Black Heart. And it's all about, it's based in the Chinese culture, and which a lot of Asian cultures, they come, even in Thailand, there's a sort of I won't say backdraft, that's not the right thing, but there is like ancestry through, right, it's Chinese cultures. And thick face, black heart applies. Thick face means showing no emotion, having a thick skin, not getting caught up in the moment. And the black heart doesn't mean a bad heart. It means, determination and will of what you want to have happen. If you are moving to Asia and you're going to be working with local communities, please read that book. It's a really great book. It is old now, and some of it might seem antiquated, but honestly, it at least taught me a few things about these new cultures, because we are going to have to adapt if you're going to have a good time living as an expat. You can't have things the way that they are at home, because this maybe living, you consider this your home, but this is a different culture to yours. And the frustration does come from the reality not matching what you think it should be. And as I said earlier, I think this is where people who are more introverted, more quiet, they kind of understand it. Because in Asia, being quiet and being patient is not seen as a sign of weakness. For the West, that's often seen as like passive aggressive, or people don't know what they're doing. But remember, Asian cultures rely on harmony of the group. And so sometimes being quiet is communication, good communication, powerful communication. It's not about blocking somebody out. It's about waiting for the beat, right? Waiting for the next person to come in and to feel included in the conversation. So it is a different way that we look at things. We are taught as Westerners in school to question openly, to to fight for our place, to hold our ground, to do all of these things. And I'm making big cultural generalizations here. Obviously, this does not apply to every Westerner any more than patience applies to any Asian. But certainly within the cultures, generally speaking, there is an overflow of these two behaviors, and it shows up everywhere you go. Perfect example that actually just happened to me very recently. I've got some family in town. My son-in-law put his card inside the ATM, and the ATM swallowed it. Okay. That's happened to me, so I knew what to do. So I got somebody, they showed me the number to call, they showed me, the number on the ATM, and I called up the bank to find out. And they got an English speaker to me, which was really great, very, very helpful. But before I got to the human being, I had to go through the rotary system, and it gave you the thing, press 1 for this, press 2 for this, press 3 for this. At no place in the rotary system did it say, press for a lost card. So we went through it twice. And the second time I thought, hang on, maybe I'll just press, like card. If it's about a card, I'm like, yes, it's about a card. Sure enough, that was it. So my mindset was there should be an option for a lost card. But that's my thinking. I'm a native English speaker. I think it should say lost card. It doesn't. I thought card maybe apply for a card, but it didn't. It was just the word card. Okay, so we got there, all right? We got a human being and we got it sorted out, and it was absolutely brilliant. And I must say, thank you very much to the people of the KTB Bank. They were really, really great. So let's think again about what I'm speaking about too much, which is, and I'm rambling, sorry again, but which is Your adaptation to the Asian way, you needing to think about, if you're going to be an expat, you needing to think about, here is what I want to have happen. How can I have it happen? And not jump in with both feet telling people how it's going to happen, because your mindset needs to reflect the local society. And that's true of every country that I've ever lived in. Because if you don't do it that way, you're just going to hit wall after wall after wall, and you might become embittered, which is a terrible thing. I've got another video about that. Don't become embittered. There is a misunderstanding in an Asian culture when you're standing there telling somebody, that this is the way it goes and how you want it. They think you're being aggressive. They think you're angry. You might not even be angry. I've been accused of colleagues, oh, Kun Wendy, don't be so angry. I'm not angry. You've never seen me angry. I'm frustrated. But I'm frustrated because I'm not letting go of my expectation, taking a step back and seeing the reality of the situation and trusting that things will work the way that you need them to work. Alrighty. So that's what I wanted to say about that. Stillness, silence, and emotional restraint. It certainly does mean that you're going to have an easier time if you are in Asia. I'm just checking on my notes now to make sure that I've covered everything I wanted to cover. Silence, I said here, can be communication, not avoidance. And also, I wrote down here, you also have to think about what emotional intelligence looks like to somebody else, because emotional intelligence cross-culturally might not be the same as what you expect in the West, simply because that's what you're familiar with. The EQ in another culture, it might not be the same as the EQ in the culture that you're living in. So take a breath, do some research and find out how things are done locally, and then you will have a much, much easier time of it. Now, if you are someone who has found frustration because things haven't worked exactly the way you've planned them or exactly the way you expect that they should work, do drop a comment down below. If there's anything you'd like me to cover, I'll be happy to do that. Or you've got any questions, or you disagree with me and you'd like to say, no, that's not how it works where I live, I'd love to hear from it. If you're living in Vietnam, it's a place that I considered between Thailand and Vietnam. I consider, if you're living in Vietnam, let me know how it works there. If you're living in Malaysia, what a lucky person you are. What a great place to live. But anyway, just drop me a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you very much to everybody who reached out when I took a break over Christmas. I'm still here, still alive, still yabbering on. And I hope you have yourself a great new year. New Year is coming. The year of the fire horse for the Chinese one, that'll be in February. But as we head into 2026, may it be kinder to us. I hope so. If you're considering a move to Asia, do reach out. And like I said, have a great day. I'll stop talking. Bye.